Hello, and welcome back to Under a Rock with Brielle and Guerlain. Today we are discussing Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 2, and we are discussing episodes 19 and 20. We are here, ladies and gentlemen.
We are at the end of book 2.
Yes. Last time we saw our heroes, everything seemed well and fine, but alas, Toph is kidnapped. The Azula and her Fire Nation gang have infiltrated Ba Sing Se. What will our heroes do?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, no, it's a really good kind of atmosphere to come into the last episodes of this season of the book, because we as the audience know that like shit's gonna go down, but the characters don't yet, and so it's really wonderful.
Yep.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it. So the Guru. Last episode, you said that you had a lot to say about Guru Patik.
All right. Before I say anything else about this episode, I want to reiterate, I am white. I am not Asian. No, but I think it's important for me to say, you are not Asian.
Right.
Okay. So therefore, at the end of the day, an Asian person's point of view and perspective should always be listened to above mine, you know? However, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a show that takes a lot of its ideas, a lot of its imagery, a lot of its themes from Asian culture. And a lot of it comes from Indian culture. I mean, the word avatar is an Indian word. The idea of chakras, that's an Indian thing. And so the fact that the only character who is visibly Indian is a guru is not okay. You know, it's a stereotype. Granted, Guru is a kind person. He is wise. He is helpful. He even is a little bit funny. He's not a bad stereotype, but he is still a stereotype. And in a cartoon where pretty much every other Asian, I guess, ethnicity is shown and portrayed, usually in at least a positive light for one or two characters, the fact that there are no other visibly Indian characters except for this one, and he's a guru, is not okay.
Okay.
You know, it's one of the things that I think speaks to the fact that at the end of the day, the creators were white men. Now, like I said, do I, as a white person, think that it's like meant to be insulting or, like a comical stereotype? No, I think they had the best of intentions. I think they were like, Aang needs to learn about, this idea. Chakras make a lot of sense in this context. Let's use chakras, and who better to teach him than a wise guru? Like, I feel like, I don't know them, but I feel like the creators had the best of intentions. However, we do have to discuss the fact that Guru Patik is the only Indian character. He has a very strong accent. He, looks like Gandhi. He's very thin and he has the beard and everything. And, he's a stereotype. And in a world that takes so much of its like mythology from Indian culture, to have this be the only representation that someone who is Indian or South Asian gets is a little insulting. And I just think that, I want to use this platform, as small as it may be, to just bring light to that issue. Right. I'm not saying that like, oh, that means that the creators are racist. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that just like with anybody else who is talking about something that they're not a part of, they make mistakes and they do things that maybe aren't so good when you look at it again.
Right.
So I just want to say that before we say anything else, that like I acknowledge that it is a kind of a stereotype, and there is an issue with the lack of proper Indian and South Asian representation in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I didn't even take account to that. I wasn't aware that having an Indian character be a guru was the stereotype. I didn't even know that was I don't really do research or pay attention to stuff like that, but
I mean, it would be like having a world where like everything to make it connected to you, where the whole world is based on like a Haitian mythology, like with the gods and the way that the buildings are structured, but none of the characters are like Haitian, like sure, maybe the characters are black, but they're not Haitian. And then you meet one Haitian and he has a very, very thick like patois accent, and that would be kind of not okay.
And he's only there just to like do voodoo or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the idea. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that the creators were being racist, but that's the issue there. That it's like so much of the world of Avatar is based on a lot of Indian principles and South Asian principles, and to have the only character that is like visibly Indian like that be a guru is a little bit like, oh, of course. Well, what else would he be?
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that first because I think it's important to mention.
Right.
And again, listen to someone who is Indian or South Asian over me. But, I want to try and use my platform to get some, knowledge out.
I get that. Educated me because I wasn't aware.
Yeah. Okay. But now we can actually get into the episode because there's a lot to talk about. So this episode starts with Uncle Iroh like seeing Zuko after his whole metamorphosis after his change. And it's like, nice Zuko has entered the chat.
Yes.
Like he's just like weirdly nice. He's like weirdly happy. But it's sweet because you can see that he's really trying to make an effort to like change and accept this new lifestyle, and you gotta appreciate that he's trying.
Got that nice shot of him looking out the window. It's like the things are looking up. The world's so positive.
Yeah.
As he's like
eating
drinking
his breakfast.
Yeah.
So like he's gonna start forth on a new life. Meanwhile, Sokka reaches the camp where his father and all the other Water Tribe men are, and he comes up to all the tents, and you can see that he's visibly nervous because he's like, are these guys going to accept me? Are they going to think of me as a child? And they all like love him and like greet him, and like he gives his dad a hug, and it's such a sweet hug, and like the smile that Sokka has when he finally hugs his dad is like, aw, because he hasn't seen his dad in 2 years, and and it's like, oh, that's pure joy. And And something that I want to say about Hakoda and the other men in the Water Tribe is I really love how Hakoda never talks down to Sokka. He never tries to be like, you're a kid, you have to listen to me. He fully respects Sokka's, age as well as his intelligence and bravery. Like he has no doubt heard all of the stories. Like Bato probably told him, he probably heard it like while he was traveling. So he knows what Sokka is capable of and he knows what Sokka is doing. But I feel like in a lot of TV shows, even when the like son comes home like a hero, his father's always like, no, you're a child, like I'm the dad, like I want to protect you, I don't want you to do anything. But Hakoda's like, no, you are a skilled warrior and I want you with me to help me fight these battles. Like that's a really like refreshing, I think, scene.
And it's such a when Sokka comes to the camp, I don't know, it's just such a heartwarming. I don't really want to use this word, but I'm gonna use it. Such a heartwarming, manly moment.
Yeah.
And he comes in and like they're rubbing his head, and Sokka like goes back up, is like, "Nah, I'm taller now."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and then, but they show that. So they show all the men embracing him.
Yeah.
And then to show him, like you said, hugging his father. It really depicts that you don't have to be this strong guy. You don't have to be insensitive to your emotions. Like it's okay to like hug your dad. It's okay to embrace other men and just be cool with it. Like it doesn't have to be like that whole dumb shit back in the day with the no homo or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, that's I've noticed a lot with Avatar. Avatar never seems to kind of push a hyper masculine rhetoric that you have to behave a certain way. And we see that with the male characters in the show, because I would argue that, Sokka is very masculine, and I would argue that Zuko is masculine at some points in the show, but they're not like, pushing away their emotions or refraining from talking to women or talking down to women. Like they respect women, and they care about what other people have to say, and they are so open with their emotions. And it really shows a wonderful, positive way to be a man.
Yes.
Showing that like men are brave and true, and they, fight for what's right, but they also like understand that it's okay to just hug people and be happy and take pleasure in the little things. And, sometimes they like shopping,
Right.
and they like tea, so I really appreciate all the different types of men that the show gives us, because you can definitely look at someone like Hakoda and Bato and be like, oh, these are manly men, but they also like are so soft around the kids and everything, and I appreciate that.
Speaking of which, you got to me.
I did? What do you mean?
So, when in the Bato episode,
Okay.
Bato the Water Tribe,
Yeah.
when you brought up that like Bato and Hakoda might have a thing or whatever.
Yeah, like they're married.
Even though, so when they were when Hakoda was showing Sokka about the stink bomb,
Yeah.
the stinking sink.
Yeah.
When Sokka laughed and Bato rolled his eyes like, "You're definitely your father's child." I was like, "Fuck, Brielle, I see it now." Because that's just some. Oh God.
That's amazing. I'm so happy. I was going to bring that up and be like, that is the sigh of a beleaguered husband who's like, all he hears all day is just terrible, terrible puns. And now his like husband's son is back, and it's just more terrible and terrible puns. And he's like, why did I marry you?
You got to me.
Because he loves him. They're married.
Oh God.
Oh man, I have such thoughts about like Hakoda and Bato and their relationship. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I'm so happy that you kind of see it too. I'm like really, really, really happy that you kind of see it too.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh man, I love it. Yes, but it's true. Anyway, I love Hakoda, man. Hakoda's such a dilf, man. I tell ya. He really is. Like, he's just out there fighting the Fire Nation with his tunic, like, down to his navel, just, like, tits out. Like, you gotta love him. Just telling bad jokes and, like, fabulous hair and cheekbones. You gotta love him.
He is a good-looking man. They drew him really well.
They did. They really, really did. Oh, man. I'm just, like, exposing myself right now. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. So, back at the Earth Kingdom, the 5 generals have met, and they are planning a counterattack against the Fire Nation on the day of the Black Sun. Mm-hmm. And Katara's like, oh, I'll take all these plans to the Earth King, who is at the moment entertaining the Kyoshi warriors, or who he thinks is the Kyoshi warriors. And he literally tells them the entire plan. Now, part of me is like, well, he didn't know. Right. He was told by the Avatar and by Sokka to trust these Kyoshi warriors. So he has no reason to think that they're like going to use this knowledge against him. But at the same time, it's like, oh, is there anything else you wanted to tell them? Your social security number, your bank password? Yeah. Like anything else you want to just blurt out to these strangers?
And it really shows like how sheltered he is.
Yeah.
He even brings it up as he's telling them everything. Yeah. That his most trusted advisor, he just found out, was using him as a puppet. Mm. So he doesn't know who to trust. So I just think he's just finding someone to confide in. Mm-hmm. And the Kyoshi warriors are there. He's just like, hey, we're doing an invasion. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Yeah. And like, it's so funny. And like, it's just like, yeah, anything else you want to tell us? Your whole life story while you're at it.
Honestly.
And so like the girls are like talking and they're taking off their makeup. Ty Lee's like so pretty, like taking off her makeup, and May has like the black smears. Love that. That's truth for makeup. I tell you, you put on eyeliner and you take it off, it does not come off clean. It's not like Mulan where she just wipes it off. It's like it's just all on your face. And Ty Lee, this I noticed because I'm kind of keeping an eye out on Ty Lee because I have like theories about her. She really butters Azula up. She is very, very, like, especially in these episodes, every other word out of her mouth is Azula, that's so good. Azula, that's amazing. Azula, you're so smart and pretty. Like, she is just constantly buttering Azula up and lifting her up and pushing her forward. And I think that's all intentional. I mean, obviously, I think it's to keep Azula happy so that Azula doesn't like get mad at her. But I also think there's an alternative idea in mind when Ty Lee does that. And I think it's all about self-preservation with Ty Lee, you know?
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. I think it's all self-preservation and cleverness. I think my thing is that I think Ty Lee is a lot smarter than anybody realizes.
Right.
And I think she realized at a very young age that like Azula controls based on fear and based on servitude. So Ty Lee is like, well, in order for me to get out of this alive and possibly get out of this on top, I need to bow down to Azula, basically. And that's kind of, I think, what all this culminates in. And the thing that I love is that like Azula, the whole reason that they're in Ba Sing Se was to like capture the Avatar, right? Like they didn't know that Zuko was in the city necessarily. They just wanted to capture the Avatar and they knew he was going to Ba Sing Se, right? So Azula hears the whole plan. The king tells her the whole plan. And Azula's like, you know what? While we're here, why don't we take over Ba Sing Se? Like we're already here, guys. We might as well. We got a couple of days. We can do it. Like I think that's so funny. Like they were not planning to overthrow Ba Sing Se, but she was like, while we're here, we might as well. You know, I got to pick up some milk. I got to pick up some eggs and take over Ba Sing Se. Like it's a checklist. Like, oh God, that's so funny. And it really just shows like her intelligence, how she's able to come up with a plan so fast because they really only have a couple of days. Like it's just.
She's truly an opportunist.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as she sees the opening, she's like, gotta strike.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love that. So she and the other girls are like, well, time to take over Ba Sing Se. Meanwhile, Aang is with the guru and he's learning about the chakras and how he needs to unlock all the chakras to unlock his potential in the Avatar state and fully be able to control it. Because right now he doesn't have the ability to control it. It just comes on and then goes out. I will say, I know that this is a very simplified understanding of the chakras, but it's a lot more entertaining to watch and listen to and understand than having my college RA attempt to explain it to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I was in college, my college RA was like a hippie. So the college that I went to was a very like hippie dippy school. Like there were a lot of hippies at my school. And so my RA, a white woman with dreads, I'm just putting that out there. That's the kind of person she was. Tried to explain chakras to me. And I just was like, what are you talking about? Like, even then, before I really understood the implications of like white people talking about chakras, I was like, what are you talking about? This makes no sense. And you're high out of your mind. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So this was a lot better for me. I was like, oh, I finally understand it. Thanks, Avatar.
I mean, when it comes to like a children's show, they always they make everything more entertaining, more appealing.
Yeah. And like I said, I know that it's like very simplified, but I feel like the way that they describe it just really makes a lot of sense. Not only just for someone who's like, oh, that's what they do, but also for Aang. You know, it's like each chakra has a good and a bad, or I guess a positive and a negative, and he has to give up the negative to gain the positive.
Right.
But, you know, watching this, damn, I wish it was that easy for me to like just cleanse my whole body like that. Like it takes him, what, a day for each one?
Right.
He has to meditate for all of a minute and he's like, all right, I'm good. On to the next one.
They really do show that like he just breezes past through them.
Yeah.
Like the most that like he struggled, showing him struggle was the first chakra, the one that dealt with like fear. He has the fear of Ozai, we see.
Yeah.
And then the last one when he had to like give up Katara.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, 3. The ones where like he had to accept the fact that all the air nomads are gone.
Yeah, his grief.
But is now renewed into new love.
Yeah.
But other than that, he just kind of goes through one after the other.
Well, I mean, Aang is already so spiritually connected to the world, and he's already so spiritual that I feel like it probably is a little bit easy for him to just like meditate and focus. He kind of goes through all of the chakras, drinking onion and banana juice.
Very, very weird combination.
Yeah. I don't know what that would really do. I guess banana would keep your energy up because it has potassium.
Right.
But I don't know what onion would do.
It's a little kick, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, onions I can be hydrating,
Oh, okay.
I think. If I'm remembering correctly. If I'm remembering holes correctly, where they eat all those like onions. Yeah, but I think it helps keep you hydrated. So that's probably what they were doing, because like it didn't look like they were eating anything else. It seemed like the whole journey of Aang kind of clearing his chakras involved, you know, kind of like a meditative state. So you're not supposed to eat a lot of food. You're supposed to just like focus on that. So like when people like go into like meditative states, they usually like only like drink certain things or eat certain things. So that's probably what it was.
Okay. Makes sense.
And I love that the guru is just basically giving him therapy. He's like, you know, while we're here, let's talk about your issues. I mean,
That's basically what he does.
That's basically what it is. Yeah. Well, I mean, going through your chakras is a part of therapy, or it's a type of therapy, I should say. I mean, you know, because he's right. In order to balance your body, you do have to give up all of these negative things in your life and negative emotions. And that's what therapy is.
Right.
So they're doing that. Meanwhile, Sokka's with his dad. His dad is like really supportive of him. And he's like, all right, we're going to fight the Fire Nation together, father and son. It's great. And then Toph, we go back to Toph, who's in this metal box, and they're taking her back to her mother's. And Toph just fucking invents metal bending.
Yep.
Like, she just does that. Like, so for the record, my mother's favorite character is Toph. She loves Toph.
Aw.
Yeah, she told me the other day, she's like, I really like Toph. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I'm so happy you like her. So that happened, and I turned to my mom and I was like, do you just realize what Toph did? And she's like, yeah, she got out of the cage. And I was like, no, you don't understand. She literally invented a whole new style of bending. No one has ever been able to bend metal before. Like, what?
Did that like really blow your mind the first time you watched it?
Oh yeah, the first time it blew. Oh yeah, like the first time I saw this, when I was like watching it in that binge, I was just blown away by the absolute power that Toph has. She is 100% right. She is the greatest metal bender in the world, not earthbender in the world, because, you know, yeah, because bending metal never existed. I mean, metal was used to like hold earthbenders still because they couldn't get their way out of it.
Right.
And so Toph is just able, through her skill, through I think the fact that she's kind of blind and can see the reverberations of the earth in the metal, is able to just bend it, and bend it so well, so fast. Like, it's just so phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, she really is the best earthbender in the world.
And that whole sequence of Guru Patik speaking about how everything is connected.
Yes.
And not Aang, and Toph feeling that vibrations like you said, and like banging against the box and trying to find the earth. That was just so well choreographed, so well put together.
It was really well directed.
Yes,
those
directed.
scenes together. And what a beautiful lesson. I mean, it's not one that's new. We heard it before, like in the swamp episode, but I feel like the main theme of Avatar, or one of the main themes, is the idea of separation being wrong, being a bad thing. The guru says it, Toph is able to kind of use that idea, but we are all connected. And it's the separation that allowed the Fire Nation to attack, that allowed the Fire Nation to believe they were superior, that allowed, you know, the water tribes to be, you know, struck down one by one. It allowed the air nomads to be killed. Not to say that it's their fault, but that's what kind of caused it, this idea of separation, of difference, you know. And it is, he's absolutely right, it is an illusion.
Yep.
You know, all of these, even in our world, all of these things like borders and you know, nationalities and stuff, it's all made up. We made those things up to help separate and define things. Now, you know, do I think that it's necessarily a bad thing to have some separation, to be like, oh, well, I'm American, well, I'm Canadian? No, not necessarily. But it's when you lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, we're all humans. Right. That's where the trouble comes from. And I think that's such a beautiful lesson to have in a children's show. that everybody is equal, that everyone is connected, that everyone is basically the same. And it's when you only see the differences in people is where the trouble starts. You know,
Right.
it's such a beautiful message.
Yeah.
You know, and the guru keeps going. It's a lot to ask of a kid, what the guru is asking Aang to do. Like when he says you have to give up like earthly attachments in order to reach the top chakra, the one at the top of the head. It's a lot to ask of a child to give up his earthly attachments. And like Aang, I also never really understood that part. So if there's anyone who's watching who kind of understands like chakras, I would love to be I'd love for that to be explained, because I never really understood that whole idea that in order to reach spiritual enlightenment, you have to like give up all the stuff on earth that makes you happy. Like I never really understood that. I was like, that's kind of sad. Why do I have to give that up? Like I don't get it. And you know, if anyone wants to educate me, not that they have to, but if anybody wants to, I'm here.
My guess would be is that you can't take it with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can't take it with you.
So you might as well begin the process of being okay with that. That like, you know, all this can just go. In an instant, in a blink of an eye, everything could just be ripped away from you.
Yeah.
So I guess to reach spiritual enlightenment, you just have to be okay with having nothing.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. I'm just a, you know, a maximalist hedonist. That's what I am, so that's why I don't get it. But I will say something that kind of goes off of that. It's probably because as the Avatar, Aang is not really supposed to be with other people. Like he's kind of supposed to be above it all and like separate from them in order to kind of see like the true peace and justice that needs to be doled out. You know, it's a very lonely existence, I think, what the Avatar is meant to be. Because, you know, everyone else kind of has these roots and these connections, and the Avatar doesn't, because they're connected to all four elements. So while obviously the Avatars are raised in a specific element where they like started, at the end of the day, they're kind of all over. And I feel like maybe that's part of it. Like the guru is trying to tell him that you cannot have connections to the world. You're not allowed, because you have to be above it all. You have to be the Avatar. You can't be Aang, which is a lot. It's sad. It's a lot to ask of a kid.
Yeah.
You know, because I imagine that like when the other avatars reached this point in their life of like maybe learning about the chakras or like reaching their spiritual potential, they were adults. So, you know, it might have been, so while it might have been harder for them to give up some attachments, it also might have been easier for them because they like, oh, well, I had all these friends when I was a youth, so I understand those feelings. I can let those go. You know, where Aang is still a kid at the end of the day. He's still kind of learning how to be a person. And so for someone to be like, and give it all up, you know, it's probably hard.
I'm thinking like Aang hasn't been through the whole transition from middle school to high school.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we were friends in 8th grade, and then 9th grade hits and I haven't seen them.
Yeah. We don't talk anymore, and it's totally fine. Like, but at the same time, I don't think Aang can be that kind of avatar. I don't think he's meant to be the kind of avatar that's like separate from everybody else. One, because that's not his personality. And two, because he has a responsibility to the air nomads to kind of bring, I don't want to say repopulate, but also just like tell people about the air nomads and make sure that their traditions and their culture gets saved and preserved.
Right.
So he has a responsibility to that specific culture. So I don't know if Aang can really be that kind of avatar that all the other ones were.
Yeah.
You know, just give up everything to do that. So he struggles with that.
Yeah.
And the guru says that until he learns to give up his earthly attachments and reach true spiritual enlightenment, he will not be able to reach the avatar state, and he will not be able to control it.
Right.
So that's rough.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Katara is in the Earth Kingdom, and she's like, hey, why don't I stop for some tea? And she goes into the Jasmine Dragon, which is booming, which is bustling, which is nothing but a success for Iroh. And we're all very happy and proud of him. Zuko's very, very happy for his uncle. And Iroh says that, like, the success of the tea shop isn't what makes me happy. It's your happiness that makes me happy. And it's like, aw.
Oh, Iroh.
Katara sees Zuko and, like, books it. She's like, oh no, Zuko's here. However, I would like to just put forth another idea. What if Katara had not seen Zuko and gone into the tea shop and sat down and ordered tea and her waiter was Zuko? Because I think that would have been 5 times more hilarious, because I feel like Zuko is that kind of awkward person, and Katara being in a public place, it would be very tense. It'd be like, hello, welcome to the Jasmine Dragon. What can I get you? Oh, I'll have some tea and possibly my mother back. You know, the Fire Nation killed my mom. I'll get started on that tea. Bye. And it's just like would be just like awkwardly talking to each other. Katara drinking tea after tea after tea to like stay there as long as possible so she could get Zuko alone to like punch him in the face.
That had to be an idea in the writer's room.
Yeah. It's very it's a very I'm trying to think of what that vibe is of, like, I don't know what that vibe is, but it's like there's like another cartoon that like has that kind of vibe of like the characters like being way too polite to like say anything. But yeah, I just think it would have been 5 times funnier if Katara had like been sitting down and then Zuko brings over her tea and she's like, what?
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but she doesn't. She sees him and she runs.
She goes and she sees who she believes is Suki and her gang.
Yeah.
She says, oh, Iroh and she says the Fire Nation has infiltrated Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
And I just love how Azula keeps her composure until, like, she doesn't gives off her position, who she is yet. She waits and sees to what Katara's gonna say, and when she mentions Zuko and Iroh, she lights up. She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll pay them a visit then." And like I forgot what she says. And
yeah.
Then, Katara's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And when she books it again, oh my god, it's just like how fast Ty Lee moves.
Yeah, Ty Lee's crazy fast.
Oh my god, the reflexes are crazy.
Yeah,
man.
and that image of Katara on the floor with her water pooling around her. Ooh, that's an image.
Yeah. No blood, but you get the idea.
Yeah, exactly. And Azula's like, oh, well, while we're out, why don't we get Zuko and Iroh? One thing I will say, like, it's so interesting to me because Azula and the other girls, they're all like teenagers, you know? And yet they managed to take down this whole like secret police system as well as like a kingdom, and they do it like so easily. The Dai Li are idiots. Like when May and Ty Lee are like talking and they're literally just being super obvious about the fact that they're Fire Nation and Azula's trying to take over the Earth Kingdom and this and that. Like they're so obvious. Like, you know, the first time I watched it, I was like, this is a very weird conversation. This is a very weird conversation.
Same.
And then, you know, the Dai Li, you see the Dai Li and I'm like, okay. And then you see Azula and I'm like, oh, okay, it was planned. The second time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, it's so obvious that this is meant to be overheard because they say the words Fire Nation. They say the words Princess Azula. You know, they say several times that they're not really Kyoshi warriors, you know? Like, it's so obvious that they're trying to be overheard saying such specific things because in real life, no one talks like that.
Right.
Like, Ty Lee never calls her Princess Azula. Like, she always just calls her Azula. So it's like, oh, that's so clever. That's so brilliant, you know?
And they just take the trap. They take the information to Longfang, which Azula anticipated, which sets everything into motion. And it's just so smart. It just shows how cunning Azula is that she recognized that in order to take Ba Sing Se, whoever controls the Dai Li controls Ba Sing Se. And like she she recognizes that instantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know, Long Feng thinks for a hot second that he's going to be able to pull one over on Azula, but we know that he won't.
They capture Katara.
Yeah, they capture Katara, and Aang kind of sees a vision of that. And the guru is like, no, you have to stay. And Aang's like, cosmic energy and intense perfect spirituality versus Katara. I think I'm going to choose Katara. Like, same, buddy.
Yeah.
Something that my mother wanted me to mention is the trope of the hero leaving before his training is done. This is like Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like so in Star Wars, when in the 5th movie, in Empire Strikes Back, Luke is training with Yoda on Dagobah, and he gets a vision of Leia and Han in trouble, and he leaves before his training is complete. Same with Aang. Aang gets a vision of Katara in trouble, and he leaves before his training is complete. And I'm pretty sure it's happened in other movies as well, like this idea of like leaving before your training is done. But yeah, my mom was like, oh, I just kind of got that idea. And I was like, that's a really good idea, Mom. You want to be on the podcast? And she was like, no. But she wanted me to mention that it's a cool trope that they used.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Katara is captured. Aang is rushing back to Ba Sing Se to help her. You know, Hakoda realizes that like Sokka has to go back with Aang, so they go together. Toph has invented metal bending, and the Earth King wants Iroh and Zuko to make him tea at the palace. Dun dun dun.
Will our heroes prevail?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. Also, like Zuko's little proud smile when Iroh's like, oh, it's a success, is so cute. He's such a cutie pie. I love Zuko. He's such a cutie pie.
I like that little thing. Well, one, I feel really bad for the two guys that are now forever trapped in that metal box.
Oh. I mean, they're not trapped forever. They get out. Don't they get out? Don't we see them again?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing them again.
Oh. I'm sure they get out. I mean, they're on a road. I'm sure someone comes along and sees them.
But how they gonna? No one else can metal bend.
I'm sure if they
took some rocks and like try to
like force it open. I'm sure they could have.
I'm pretty sure they died in there.
Oh.
It's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure they died in there.
I mean, that wouldn't be the first time Toph is killed, so
yeah. But when she jumps, and when she it's almost like she cannonballs into the ground.
Yeah.
Sinks, and then she goes back up and she does this
runs with the earth. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so cool. I love Toph.
And it's funny too, because when we go to the next episode and Sokka and Aang are flying, they're like, what is that? Like
and it's just Toph roadrunnering to the Earth Kingdom to Ba Sing Se. Something that I want to mention is when in the next episode, which is Crossroads of Destiny, Zuko, when they go to the palace, Zuko is wearing like red. Iroh's wearing green. Zuko is wearing like reddish brown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's not wearing green. He's wearing like red. I mean, it's not Fire Nation red, but he's wearing like dark brownish red. It's really, really interesting.
Like a mixture of both red and green.
Yeah, but it's very obvious that he's not wearing the same kind of clothes as Iroh. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like the Earth Kingdom version of red. And I was like, foreshadowing perhaps?
That's a nice detail. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in all the other scenes, he wears green, like a regular Earth Nation guy. I know this one, he's wearing red. Yeah, so they go to the palace and they're making tea, and Azula shows up like, hey, big brother. And and it's obviously like an ambush, and Iroh's like, oh, did I ever tell you why I'm called Dragon of the West? And she's like, no, don't bore me, uncle. And he just breathes fire.
Ooh.
Oh God, so cool.
It is.
It's so cool.
When he's drinking the tea, I just love that little smirk Zuko gives.
Yeah.
Like, he looks to Iroh, he smirks a little, it's like, oh, yeah, about to get some shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And then Zuko runs and he sees Azula and she's like, surrender. And he's like, no, Agni Kai. And she's like, no, bye.
And Dai Li takes him.
Yeah. You gotta love Zuko. He really tries to be dramatic and poetic and it just never works.
Even though she's like, oh, Zuzu, always so dramatic.
Yeah.
I love Azula's description of the Dai Li. It's like they're earthbenders, but they have an energy that is so firebender.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like I just love it.
Yeah.
It really explains it well, and it makes a lot of sense when we learn later that Kyoshi was the one who trained them.
Yeah, so she had the ability to firebend.
Right.
I also think it really shows Azula's openness isn't the right word, but Azula is not afraid to use other people like with her, basically. Like she's not the kind of person to be like Fire Nation and Firebenders only. Every other bending style is useless. Like she doesn't believe that. I think she definitely can see and understand that the other bending styles have their uses. And I don't know if she necessarily looks down on other benders for the fact that they're not Fire Nation. Like she definitely thinks that the Fire Nation and people from the Fire Nation are superior, 100%. Right. But she, I think, respects people who know how to bend well. With like as with the Dai Li, like she definitely, I think, like acknowledges their skill, which is a good thing you want in a leader. She's not a good leader, she's terrible, but like it's a good quality to have when you're like taking over a country. Like you have to kind of use the people that are already there, and she does, and she uses them exceptionally well.
Again, because she's an optimist. Like she just sees everything. How can I take this to benefit me?
Well, that's not optimism, but she's an opportunist.
Yeah. I say I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Opportunist, yes.
Yeah. So Zuko gets captured, basically. Iroh is able to escape, but Zuko gets captured. Meanwhile, Aang, Toph, and Sokka go back to their apartment because that's where they think Katara is, and she's not there. But you know what is there that I just noticed? Scaffolding.
Oh, because...
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh my God, they have scaffolding there for when Toph blew out the wall.
Continuity, kids. It's important.
I know. I got such a kick out of that. I got such a kick. And then Iroh stops by and Toph is like, hey, I know that guy. He's a friend. And they're like, what? And she's like, no, trust me, he's a friend. I love that Toph is the one to connect to Iroh and then later to Zuko. I mean, on a storytelling level, it makes sense because she wasn't there when Zuko and technically Iroh were chasing them. So why would she have those negative like memories about them? But I kind of like that Toph, the one who is blind, is able to see the true nature of Iroh and Zuko and see that they're actually good people underneath it all. Like I like that. So Iroh basically teams up with the gang to help save Zuko and Katara. Katara and Zuko are in the crystal catacombs, which is really, really cool. I love the crystals and the coloring. It's very green. I like it. Yeah. And Katara basically explains like why she hates Zuko. And it's because when she looks at Zuko, she sees the Fire Nation, which, ouch, that's got to be rough for him because I'm sure that's not the first time that someone has thought that or said that to him, because people from the Fire Nation obviously know that he's Zuko and they, and they see the burn, but people outside of the Fire Nation, if they don't know that Zuko is Zuko, and they don't know that he is kind of like, because as a prince, you are the face of a nation. So if they know who Zuko is, they look at him and see the evils of the Fire Nation. But if they don't know who Zuko is, they see the horrors of the Fire Nation. So no matter what, when people look at him, they see Fire Nation. And I'm sure that can't be easy when he's trying to kind of start anew and start fresh.
Right.
Because whether the connotation is fear or pity, it's always connected to the Fire Nation. And Katara basically explains that like the Fire Nation killed her mother, and Zuko says like, oh, well, that's something we have in common. Yet again, another reason that I thought Ursa was dead.
We all did.
Yeah. Right? And again, this is a beautiful connection of like, it's a beautiful thematic connection between Zuko and Katara. And so this is why, okay, so this is why I definitely understand why people ship Zuko and Katara. They have all these things that connect them. However, I always viewed, did I talk about this before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. I talked about this before with the parallels.
With the siblings.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't want to
fine.
repeat myself. But yeah, so I definitely understand why, especially in this episode, you would look at Zuko and Katara and be like, oh, I ship them. But this episode is what made me be like, oh, they're meant to be like sibling parallels because they both lost their mother, and she's the Azula counterpart and he's the Sokka counterpart, you know? But you know, everyone's allowed their opinion, and I'm not saying that it's wrong either way.
Right.
You know, I have nothing against Zutara shippers. But yeah, but they have this moment of connection over the loss of their mothers. And Katara, she's so funny. She's like, oh, you're sad too. You want to be friends? Like, it takes her all of 3 seconds to be like, I used to hate you, but now we're friends.
'Cause now she sees like, oh, you shared the same pain that I have.
Yeah.
She opens up.
Yeah, I mean, Katara's the heart. She really, really is. And she gives Zuko the benefit of the doubt. It's a very kind and open thing for her to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it's so funny because she says she hates him, and then she's literally gonna like heal his scar. You know, like, yeah, you really hate him, don't you, Katara? You know, but she offers to basically heal his scar, or at least attempt to, with the spirit water. And can you imagine what would have happened if she had? If like Azula had gotten there a little bit later, or Aang and Iroh had gotten there a little bit later, because everything would have been different.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because she didn't heal Zuko, so who cares? But it's fun to think about. Like, if she had healed Zuko, one of two things would have happened. She would have healed Zuko, and he still would have chosen Azula, and nothing would have changed except Aang would have like died.
Right.
Or by healing Zuko and showing him a completely selfless act of kindness, he chooses to stay with them and Iroh and joins them early, and like he and Aang and Katara are able to get away, perhaps without Azula attacking Aang. Like, maybe all 3 of them are kind of able to, all 4 of them are able to overpower Azula and get away.
Right.
So that would have been really interesting, because then Aang would have never been blocked. Like, it's an interesting thought experiment to be like, what would have happened?
Would have been like a great RPG.
Yeah.
Got all these choices.
Yeah, exactly. So meanwhile, Long Feng basically storms up to Azula and is like, you're trying to take over Ba Sing Se. I won't let you. Like, you think you're so clever, but I'm in charge. And she's like, oh, really? Because I think I'm in charge. The Dai Li won't listen to you. They'll listen to me, so bow down.
Mm-hmm.
And she literally, like, one of the best lines in the show was like, don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great line. Mwah, chef's kiss. What a great line. That's so ruthless, and it's so true. Because she was conning him way before he even had the idea. And just the whole time she was like manipulating him to do what she wanted. He thought he was making his own decisions, but he wasn't. I will say though, like, it's kind of disappointing that he didn't even attempt to fight her. Like, he didn't even try. He was just like, well, I'll give up now.
Because like, after being read like a book.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
She literally told him his whole life story without him saying a word.
Yeah.
That'll bring me to my knees too. It's like, okay, this is getting awkwardly personal. I'm just gonna, you know?
Yeah. And also, I think he probably realized that the Dai Li would side with her, you know? So if he tried to attack her, the Dai Li would attack him, you know?
Oh, and before that happened, Sokka and Toph came to get the Earth King.
Oh, that's right. They do. You're right. I'm skipping around. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And Ty Lee tries to make a move on. It's like, how are you, cutie? And he's like, and good for Sokka being a faithful man.
Yeah.
Saying, I kind of have a thing with Suki.
Yeah. And then May's like, just take the bear.
Oh no, that's after.
Well, after they fight them, but like,
No, they fight, and then Azula comes in, and she holds a fire to the Earth King's neck. It's like, this fight is over.
oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place
you're
with this
fine.
episode.
No, because each scene kind of does feel the same, because like
Yeah.
it happens in the same
Yeah.
room. But so they get captured. Bosco stays. So they take Toph, the Earth King, and Sokka to a prison, not knowing that Toph can earthbend.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's when they break out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And they're like, I'm not leaving without Bosco. And
Yeah.
then that's when they go back with Bosco, and then May's just like, just take the bear. Just take it.
Also, just for the record, like, I feel a little bit bad for like May, because she's absolutely right. Cleaning up after bears is not part of the Kyoshi Warriors like duties. Like, it's not.
I'm surprised that's the thing that they even had to do.
Yeah.
They were even asked to do that.
Yeah. Like, they did say that they were at the Earth King's service, but like, that's not what they're for. They're like an elite protective service. They're like a SWAT team. Yeah, but so Katara is like, oh, let me try and heal you. And right before anything happens, Azula breaks in, and then Iroh and Aang break in. Everybody hugs, and like Zuko and Aang glare at each other, which is so funny and cute. Here comes the big moment of truth. Zuko is given a choice. Does he want to choose Iroh and Aang and Katara and the good guys, or does he want to choose Azula and the possibility of going back to the Fire Nation with his honor restored and get to basically go back to his old life?
So let me ask you something, because this still, I still can't come to a conclusion with this, and I guess that just shows how well they wrote Azula, that she even manipulates the audience, because when she tells Zuko that everything is set, everything is good to go, the only thing I need is you to like fully bring this home. And I'm just thinking, is that true? Like, does she actually need Zuko? Like, or is she just playing him? Because she didn't know he was in the city until Katara told him. So do you believe that she was playing him, or she actually couldn't succeed without Zuko?
I mean, I don't know. I definitely think that from a technical standpoint, she was like, oh, having Zuko help me fight will be better, will help me win. Because Azula is definitely powerful, and she had the Dai Li with her, but I think she recognized that she wouldn't have been able to beat all of them together with just her, because she wasn't able to before when they all like got her in that ghost town. So I think she understood that she needed Zuko to win the fight. I think she was tactical like that. I think, just from that standpoint, she was like, I need him for this. But I think she also was manipulating him a little bit, because I think she realized that Zuko could possibly be a threat to her at some point. And so, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I think she was like, well, if I get Zuko on my side, he'll be right underneath my thumb. I'll be able to keep an eye on him. I'll be able to manipulate him. It'll be great, So I think it's both. I think she needed him actually like to help her fight, but I think she also was like, but having him close by is a good thing for me too. Because I definitely think that Azula's, I think, greatest strength is that she does not underestimate anyone. She never underestimates anyone. She always takes into account how powerful they are. And I think she almost respects that. So I think she can see that Zuko, if he were to choose the other side, would be a threat to her. Maybe not a huge threat, but a threat to her all the same. And so I think she was like, I need to get him on my side again. Not because because she loves him. I don't think she cares. Yeah. But I think because she realizes the benefits that will come from Zuko being in the Fire Nation again. Especially with what happens later when she holds it over his head that the Avatar is dead. You know, like she has that trump card over him, which I think is what she wanted. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. Because we see that when they're fighting, that he basically saved her. Because like she was caught.
Well, that's
in,
what I
like,
mean. I think she realizes that she needed him to fight.
But the Dai Li is also there. It's just like, I don't know. It just boggles me.
I mean,
As well. You know.
I think it's both. I think this was the one moment where Azula was like, I'm going to put it out there and we'll see what happens. I don't know if she knew what Zuko was going to choose. I don't think anybody did. And so I think this was her kind of, you know, almost doing a Hail Mary, you know, like, let's just see what happens, you know. And Zuko chooses. And he chooses wrong.
Yeah.
He chooses to side with Azula and fight against the Avatar, Katara, and even his uncle. And, you know, when I watched it the first time, I was not surprised that he chose Azula. I was not surprised. I had a feeling he was going to. Because change is a very, very gradual process. And for him to have done a complete 180 over the course of a day or two is a little ridiculous. And for someone who, for the formative years of their life, where they were really developing their personality, for the formative years of their life, to have their motivations be something, and then have their motivations completely change, like out of nowhere, is a little weird, is a little ridiculous. And so Zuko's still kind of on the precipice of that change from, you know, Fire Nation to not. And so for Azula to be like, come home with me and you'll get your honor back. Literally everything that you ever wanted for the past 3 years, you can have. I'm not surprised that Zuko chose that. If anything, just to get closure. Just to be able to see what his life would have been like had he succeeded earlier in capturing the Avatar and regaining his honor. You know, I don't blame Zuko for wanting that closure, for wanting to see if he was making the right choices by going with his uncle, by, you know, being a refugee, if it was all worth it. I don't blame him for needing to know. And again, I think, again, at the end of the day, Zuko, at the end of the day, just wants his father's love. And it's his one thing that always gets him, the love of his father. And Azula knows that. And like, every single time, and as the case with people who are abused, it tends to be the case, despite their abuse, they always forget and they just want that love. And, you know, not that it's their fault, but like they whenever the love or the honeymoon stage is back, they always just go right back because the love and the support that they get from their abuser is so intoxicating. And so I don't blame Zuko for wanting that, for wanting this is going to be the one time. Every other time that my father denied me, those were all in the past, but this is it. This is the one time. And it's always the same. It's always, this is the time that it happens. And I think, again, because like Zuko's a child, he's still a child. And so I don't blame him for making a stupid mistake. Lord knows I make stupid mistakes all the time and I'm almost 30. Like, you know, so, you know, that's just being a person. You're always going to make stupid mistakes. So I think I expected him to make that mistake. And I think it's so important that he chooses wrong and he makes this mistake and he betrays his uncle and the Avatar and everything because he needed to see what would have happened if either he hadn't spoken up that day and gotten the scar or he captured the Avatar first, you know?
Right.
He needed to see it. And, you know, and it was important to his character development. It was important to his redemption to be able to see what would have happened, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sad, but I understand why it has to happen.
When, so Zuko joins the fight. and he just beasted like
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He bests Aang,
Mm-hmm.
and then he helps Azula, and I like the fact that we see that Katara had the upper hand on Azula.
Oh yeah.
It foreshadows for
For later on, yeah, with at the end.
that 101. It doesn't seem like Azula can keep up with
Yeah.
Katara, because it was Ty Lee who took Katara down,
Yeah.
not Azula. But yeah, so Zuko saves Azula. They switch dancing partners,
Mm-hmm.
and Zuko takes on Katara, and they're going at it.
Yeah.
And he's very formidable. During the re-airing of this, when they were showing like the fun facts or whatever, when Aang charges at Azula covered in like the diamonds.
Yeah.
um, a funny thing that they did is that as they're charging, a fun fact comes up. It's like fun fact about diamonds, and then disappears. And then when they clash and Aang goes flying, it's like it comes back up. They're not very strong at all. I was like, you could have gave Aang this advice before, but it was a very impressive showdown between the four of them.
Yeah.
And then the Dai Li comes in. Oof, and they're just surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
So this I vividly remember watching for the first time as a child.
Okay.
When Aang covers himself and is like, he says, "I'm sorry, Katara," and like he goes and he finishes the final step of opening that chakra.
He lets her go.
I thought Katara was gonna die first time I watched this, because he said sorry and everything. I was like, oh shit, like she going, because that's how I took the whole thing of letting Katara go, like she's gonna die. So I thought she was gonna die. Oh, I was a kid though, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a completely baseless idea. You know, she was surrounded by the Dai Li. I mean, it's possible that they would have killed her.
She does the octopus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought for sure Katara was gonna die, and then Aang bursts up. He's in Avatar state,
and it's glorious.
It's glorious.
It's so cool because you realize that he is in control of the Avatar state. It's not just random. He's like choosing the Avatar state.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perfect for all of like 3 seconds. And then the lightning in the eye. What a great image of the lightning. And then you see like it flashes on him. Oh, it's such a cool moment.
When I tell you, when I was a kid watching this, I thought I was hit by lightning because that shit caught me off guard.
Oh yeah, oh me too. I was like, oh, like oh god, the gasp that I had when she got him. Oh man.
And in Azula's eyes, you could see Aang's body twisting.
Yeah.
Oh, what an image.
Yeah. It's really powerful. It's a really powerful, well done like moment of animation.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta hand it to Azula though, for taking a shot.
Yeah.
Like she's like, is anyone else gonna do this? No, just me.
Gonna
okay. Like everyone else is busy just looking at him, but I guess I'll do it. I guess if I'm here, you know.
Yeah.
Again, her ruthlessness. She was ready and prepared and willing to kill him. She has been since the moment that she came on the scene. She's been ready to kill. And she knows that when you kill an avatar in the avatar state, that's it. Mm-hmm. Like she's clever and she knows that. And so she picked the perfect moment. It's brilliant. It's terrible, but it's brilliant. And we as the audience, because we also know that, it's just as devastating, you know? Because not only is just Aang as a person in trouble, but the entirety of the avatar, like lineage, is in trouble too. And so he falls and Katara catches him. And she's, you know what it is? It's the Pieta pose. Am I saying that right? I hope I'm saying that right. Pieta, it's the statue, the famous statue of Mary holding Jesus. That's the pose. I was like, clever. Yeah, and it just, that image just evokes, I think, if you know what it's based on, like the holding of the body, it's such an image of like pure just devastation, you know, and I think it really, really fits, you know, that Katara is holding, you know, Aang. Not to say that like, not to make the connection between Aang and Jesus, because I don't want to do that, because it's such a show that's rooted in Asian culture and I don't want to do that. But the idea that like Aang is this like savior of the world, and the person that loves him most is like holding his dead body, is just like, oh, Oh my god.
It's a lot. Iroh comes in. He buys him some time. Oh, the performance. He's like, go. I'll hold him long as I can. And then, it was just so, the way they animate him, like taking the blows
Yeah.
of the Dai Li. He's just like boom, boom, boom. Like, I don't know. There's something about that. The way it was shaped and the way he moves. And he just looks. Katara, she does the waterfall up.
Yeah.
And Iroh's look of disgust and disappointment on Zuko, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Is
He was like, we just talked about this. We just talked about this, Zuko. But yeah, no, it's
yeah.
The disappointment and and not even disappointment, just like sadness and fear for Zuko, because Iroh knows that this is not going to end well. You know, he knows that this is the wrong choice for Zuko. For those of you keeping score, this is another notch on the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's the abyss, the supreme ordeal, death and rebirth. So in the hero's journey, there is a moment where they lose, basically. And that was this moment where they die and are reborn. Sometimes physically, sometimes metaphorically, but that's this moment where they kind of go into the innermost cave and they lose and they have to like rise from the ashes to continue their journey. And that's this moment for Aang. So yeah, I just wanted to mention, because you wanted to know when there would be other moments of the hero's journey. So we're right at the bottom. We're right at 6, and then we got to go all the way to the top again.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask you the past episodes, but I kept forgetting. So I'm happy.
I mean, most of the past episodes are just part of the like trials and tribulations, just like the various times that Aang has to learn a skill or meet someone to continue on. You know. Yeah. So he has the supreme ordeal. And then he gets on Appa with everybody else, and Katara is able to heal him with the spirit water. Thank goodness.
She brought him back from the dead.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's good. He's still very, very weak, and they don't necessarily know what's going to happen with him and his abilities, but for the moment, he is alive.
Mm-hmm.
Iroh is taken into custody. And Zuko and Azula and like Mei and Tagli are heading back to the Fire Nation. And Zuko already shows regret for what he's done.
It's like, I betrayed Uncle.
Yeah.
And Azula trying to flip it is like, no, he betrayed you.
Yeah. But it doesn't really work this time. I think that Zuko realizes that he made a mistake, which like, I feel you, bro. Like, too many times I've done something and literally the second I do it, I'm like, oh, that was stupid. That was stupid. However, I will just say, like, I just want to put this out there. This is kind of meant as a joke, but I would like to formally nominate Zuko as a himbo. I would like to put forth his nomination to the Great Council of Himbos as a himbo, because he's just so stupid. Like, I love him. I really do. But he's just so stupid. He's so dumb. Like, he has said multiple times, Azula always lies. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, and every time that he's encountered Azula and she's promised him something, she's lied and she's hurt him. And yet this time he's like, oh, but this time is different. This time is like, Zuko, you're such an idiot.
He doesn't know any better yet.
Like,
man.
he literally saw Azula like almost kill Uncle Iroh, and he's like, nah, but it's gonna be good. Like, he's so dumb. He's so dumb. Also, just for the nomination, he's muscular and athletic. He respects women. He's dumb. Zuko's a himbo. Anyway. Also, like, a little added, like, bonus points. He surrounds himself with lesbians. So, I mean, like, that's himbo. He does, though.
He does.
When he becomes Fire Lord, all of his personal guard are the Kyoshi warriors. Like, I mean, come on, man.
Can't get more lesbian than that,
right? So yeah, I just want to. Zuko's a himbo, but no. But to get back on track. It's important that Zuko shows regret and remorse already, because, again, all of this helps kind of show his redemption arc and show that he's worthy of being redeemed. You know, that he's worthy of that happening to him, because we in the audience see it, but also like Zuko sees it, the mistakes that he's made and the paths that he's taken. And I think that's really important that he looks back on his mistakes and realizes that they are in fact mistakes, that he's not just completely like gung-ho about all the choices he makes and he doesn't see where he went wrong.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the end of book 2.
Yep. It's such a what a punch in the gut.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And just the way it ends too, with the Earth King saying that the Earth Kingdom has fallen.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And now you gotta wait. How long did we have to wait for book 3? Damn, I feel like it was so. I want to say it was like a good year. Possibly, I could be wrong, but
I wouldn't know. For me, it was instant.
yeah, lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is the end of book 2.
Yes.
We are going to take another break basically and, watch some other movies and TV shows from our childhood so that if you like our show, but you don't necessarily care about Avatar, you have some more episodes to listen to. Yes. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate your support and all that you do for us. Remember to stay safe out there.
Yep.
And we will see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.